Hello and welcome to this educational platform of Ghatna Chakra book video. Our aim is to deliver knowledge to you in a simple, clear and accessible manner. Let us begin this journey of learning and success together.
Today, we're jumping into a fantastic story about national resilience and some seriously smart planning. It's all about how India stared down a huge food crisis and came out the other side with a blueprint for the future. This is the story of India's Great Pulse comeback. So, let's get right to the heart of it with this one big question. It sounds like a riddle, doesn't it? How can the world's #1 producer of something also have a massive problem with that exact same thing? We're going to break down exactly how India went from a real crisis point to this incredible turnaround. But, before we get lost in all the charts and policies, we need to remember the human side of this. We're talking about the livelihoods of more than 50 million farmers. This isn't just about abstract economic data. It's about the very backbone of rural India. Okay, so what exactly are we talking about when we say pulses? Well, think about lentils, beans, peas, all those things. In India, they're an absolute cornerstone. They're vital for nutrition, for national food security, and honestly, for making sure farming is sustainable for the long haul. And that brings us to the first part of our story, the problem itself. It was this whole situation full of contradictions that really pushed the country right to the edge. And here's that central paradox I mentioned. India grows more pulses than any other country on the planet, but at the same time, it also eats the most. And for a long, long time, production just could not keep up with the incredible demand at home. All of this really came to a head back in 2015 and 2016. It was like a perfect storm. Production at home hit a critical low, which meant the country had to bring in a massive amount of pulses from other countries just to fill the gap. And this wasn't just an economic headache. It was a direct threat to the nation's food security. And the numbers from back then really show you just how big this problem was. While Indian farms were producing just over 16 million tons, the country had to import a whopping 6 million tons. That's the huge gap they were trying to plug. So let's put that into perspective. In 2015-16, almost 30%, nearly a third of all the pulses eaten in India had to be imported. That kind of dependency puts a nation in a really vulnerable spot. But that crisis became a turning point, and what followed was a truly remarkable turnaround. Faced with this massive challenge, India didn't just survive, it started to systematically fight its way back. I mean, just look at these numbers. From that low of about 16 million tons, production skyrocketed to over 26 million tons by 2023. That is a gigantic leap in a pretty short amount of time. So what did that huge production boom actually mean for imports? Well, it meant that their dependency just plummeted, from nearly 30% all the way down to just over 10%. That's a huge strategic win on the road to self-reliance. So how did they do it? What was the secret sauce? Well, it was a mix of things. You had a nearly 60% jump in total production, which was powered by a fantastic 38% rise in how much each farm could produce. And all of that was supported by really smart government initiatives designed to make it all happen. But the story doesn't stop there. They didn't just fix the problem and move on. Building on that success, India has now created a detailed blueprint to not only keep this progress going, but to kick it into high gear for the future. And this whole effort is laid out in a major report from NITI Aayog, which is India's main public policy think tank. This isn't just looking back at what worked, it's a forward-looking roadmap to completely transform the pulse sector for good. Now, the really smart part of this new plan is its laser focus. Instead of trying to do everything at once, the government's self-reliance mission is zeroing in on the 3 specific crops that still make up most of the imports. Arhar, which you might know as pigeon pea, black gram, and lentils. And this brings us to the final and maybe the most exciting part of the story, what this focus strategy could mean for the future. The projections here are, well, they're pretty mind-blowing, to be honest. So check out this table. It shows 2 completely different paths forward. If they just keep doing what they're doing, that's the baseline. You see steady growth. But look what happens with these new focus strategies. By 2030, production could leap from a projected 30 million tons to over 48 million tons. It's not even a close call. Let that really sink in for a second. We're not talking about a small improvement here. This new blueprint could add nearly 60% more on top of what they were already expecting by 2030. That is an absolute game changer. So that's really the journey we've just walked through. It starts with a deep national crisis, moves to an incredible comeback, and now it ends with a solid, data-driven plan for a much more secure and self-reliant future. And that leaves us with one final, much bigger question to think about. As countries all over the world are grappling with their own food security challenges, you have to wonder, could India's pulse strategy become more than just a success story? Could it actually be a model for the rest of the world to follow? That's a pretty powerful thought to end on.